Today on the portfolio review, recapping the Week 10 DFS action on both DraftKings and Underdog. It was one of the lower scoring slates you will ever see, so we will see what bubbled up to the top of the leaderboards. We'll take a look at our GPP lineups, the Deposit Kingdom leagues on both DraftKings and Underdog, review some of the Pick 'em stuff, and then we'll take a peek at the Guillotine League. We'll look forward to Monday Night Football. I was already doing some research, got some Pick 'em ideas for us, and then a first look at the Week 11 slate as we all turn the page here. I'm Pete. This is the portfolio review. Let's do it.
I suffer from a debilitating condition known as atropic chalkitis.
Peter's one of the greatest depositors I've ever seen.
Trust the process. Let's go. Let's go.
I got auto match with Levitan. This is bullshit.
If I just go the other way in that 66, I win all the money. All the money.
If I had 150 lineups, I'd win too.
Process over results.
Illuminati make a bitch go crazy. I don't know which one of these my baby. Bust out AP, close 5 bullets to your head like KD. Bust it, bitch go bust it. And I had 10 pints with me in Russia.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone, indeed. Happy Monday, GMs to graphics here. GMs. What contest did you bink this week? I binked no contests. I actually thought I was going to have a sweat on Underdog late afternoon. I'll show you guys that team. I had a team finish like 52nd in the BR. But yes, no binks. It was the epitome of a break-even week for me. Broke even on DraftKings, broke even on Underdog, which is kind of unusual for me. I'm either like way to the left or way to the right as far as the outcome of the slate. But yeah, it was a tough one with how low scoring it was. We're going to get into all of it. We got Rahul here, GM from the West Coast, day off. Only reason to get up was for the portfolio review. Wow. Setting the alarm for the portfolio review, even without the job. Appreciate that, even if your lady wasn't too thrilled about it, Rahul. Yeah, should have played MVS. Who would have thought? The Rizzler, Darren Rizzi, unlocking MVS. What's up, my guy J Mike, always bringing the energy. What was the highlight from the weekend? We did a date night on Friday, and Lauren and I went to a restaurant in downtown Boston, an Italian restaurant we had been wanting to try out for a while. Got to have some fun dishes, had a really good octopus dish, had a squid ink pasta. They had this really good truffle pasta as well. And then I had a pretty bomb spicy mezcal cocktail. So always nice when we can get out of the house every now and again. And that was definitely a highlight. Oh, we also had, we had taken some family pictures a couple weeks ago. And we got those back as well, for Christmas card stuff. And we went through those, threw them up on the TV and scrolled through those. And April was loving seeing the photos of herself up there on the big TV. So 2 family highlights there. GM, what is up? What is up? Trev finished top 7 in the Deposit Kingdom and hit the Taco Bell Cantina in Vegas. I remember seeing you say that in the Discord. Congratulations. We got Eva here getting to watch live. Yes, thank you to all of our veterans. Happy Veterans Day. I know we got a few veterans who hang out in the comments section at times on shows. So sincerely grateful for your guys' service. And I hope you guys can enjoy the day off, those of you who have it. All right, let's pour some coffee, and then we'll dig in. We got lots of ground to cover on this show, lots of contests to look at, and we need our coffee, though, to get rolling. All right. All right. Let's head to DraftKings here first, like we always start. And I played 3 main tournament lineups yesterday. I've been trying to kind of like tier my lineups based on the contest size. So I had like a lineup that I was running in the bigger SPY, like the 5,000 to 7,000 person contest. I had a lineup that I was running in the more 1,000 entry contest, 1,000 to 2,000. There was the SPY in the red zone. And then I did one lineup for super small field stuff, around 500 entries. So we can take a look at those 3 lineups here. And then we'll take a look at the Deposit Kingdom contest. My favorite lineup of the day was my one lineup that didn't cash. It just barely missed the cash line here in this big spy. I thought this thing was going to absolutely cook early on. So it had the Russ Wilson to George Pickens with an Austin Eckler bringback, and then Jonathan Taylor. So for the early part of the games, George Pickens scores that first touchdown. Eckler gets to 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor's rumbling, and I'm like, holy shit. This might be my day on DraftKings. The lineup doesn't even end up cashing, finishes with 117.6 points. I'll read the full lineup here for our audio listeners. If you guys are watching live, but sometimes aren't able to, or you want to catch it on playback, I do post the audio of this show and all of my shows around here on the In a Vacuum podcast feed. So we will always service the audio listeners. We got Russell Wilson at 3.2%, Jonathan Taylor at 13.7%. These are the ownership percentages in this 100K to first spy. Austin Eckler at 14.4%, Ladd McConkey at 9.3%, Deebo Samuel at 11.1%, George Pickens at 6.8%, Kyle Pitts at 3.1%, Henry at 15.6%. That's Hunter Henry in the flex. And then Jaguars defense at 1.9%. So, the core element of this stack, Russ to Pickens and Eckler, worked out very well. And then I just could not get enough elsewhere. I think even on a low scoring slate, JT's 17.2 points were solid, but you really needed to have Bijan here. And then just too many landmines at tight end, the snowflakes, from Ladd, from Hunter Henry, just not enough to get it done. But I feel pretty good about my play on this lineup. There were multiple plays in here that I was pretty excited about. I mentioned on the Cram show that Eckler was my favorite running back play. When we were kind of reviewing things, I was kind of shocked that his ownership wasn't higher. He was by far the best, salary relief option at running back as far as plays under 6K. And he wasn't projecting for a ton of ownership. When we were looking at it yesterday, it was around 10%. And, I think on other slates where that value opens up late, we see guys like Eckler be 20, 30, 35% owned. So I thought that was a spot to really push in on. And it could have even been a bigger day. There was that third goal line carry that they gave to Jeremy McNichols. But yeah, so felt good about that play. I also thought Deebo was a jam. Coming in at only 10% ownership. He comes in at 11% here. I always like leaning into kind of the volatile nature of the Deebo output there, especially when the field isn't overly confident in playing him. It, of course, ended up being a Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings and George Kittle kind of day, but always happy to kind of attack the ceiling of Deebo, especially in that spot against the Bucs defense, who's been really bad against the pass. So I liked that. I like the double tight end stuff. I thought Kyle Pitts was going to be underused yesterday, kind of relative to his ceiling there. 9.5 fantasy points, not winning you anything, not necessarily killing you either at 3%, just with it being such a low scoring slate. Really only Kelsey and Kittle kind of getting it done at tight end. And then the Hunter Henry was just an air ball. I had him as one of my gems in the Deposit Kingdom video. And yeah, that one hurt. I was really into the role for Hunter Henry, third among all tight ends in air yards this year. Thought this was a decent spot against Chicago, but that did not work out. Pretty gross game there. They get it done on the ground. They're using Keyshawn Boutte a decent amount now. And then Jags D, felt good about that play, a pivot off of the more chalkier Bears and Patriots defensive plays. You get them at 2%, get 11 fantasy points, and you kind of crater all of those Sam Darnold teams. So honestly, for this being like my worst lineup of the day, it was probably my favorite. I ended up running this one through the Sims, and this was also a moment of growth for me in my DraftKings play this week, because I've been kind of stubborn with double stacks. And this one, obviously a skinny stack. You could have double stacked Russell Wilson with Pat Freiermuth and gotten there, but this one didn't force that, and really liked how this shook out and was able to kind of get it around some of my favorite plays on the slate as well. So this one does not hit. Let's see what took down first place here in this big spy. The Dirty Sheik here had a Brock Purdy to Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle. Bijan, of course, Kareem Hunt, Calvin Ridley, Courtland Sutton, in Zach Ertz along with Chargers defense. Some pretty sick plays here. Obviously, the double stack with Brock Purdy is pretty straightforward, but one-off Calvin Ridley and then the Kareem Hunt, Courtland, Sutton mini correlation, really nice stuff there. Zach Ertz at 2.2%. It didn't even matter. Like, you could survive some, a low score in your lineup yesterday just with how low scoring of a slate it was. But yeah, not a bad lineup here. Man, being able to win those low scoring slates always feels good because you just like, it's one of those days where you're like, this person was probably watching the Bucs game and just tilting their face off. They're like, come on, Brock. Like, that was kind of a frustrating game. They were settling for field goals, all of that stuff. And yet you still get home. You can get home with 17 points from Pearsall, 14 points from Kittle. Pretty good there. The Calvin Ridley was the kind of real sicko play there. I'm mad that I didn't get to him a little bit more on Underdog with some of my scrolls. I did see some Calvin Ridley teams at the top of the leaderboard. So shout out to you guys who were on the Calvin Ridley scroll yesterday. I thought that was pretty sharp. Shorty says it was Tyler Goodson's birthday yesterday, explains the TD. Well, where was Zach Ertz's TD? Wasn't it his birthday as well? I guess the birthday narrative giveth and take away. I know, the Austin Hooper. Someone mentioned in the cram, I forget. Oh, what we were doing, we were building our pick 'em at the end of the cram yesterday, and I was asking for tight ends to put in it. And someone mentioned Austin Hooper, and I quickly shot that down. Now, he didn't score a TD, which I believe is what was being floated. But apologies for me essentially laughing at the Austin Hooper call because he ended up being the one who sunk all of my Hunter Henry dreams. Yeah, the Jonathan Taylor vulture was brutal. Man, he was ripping off big runs and just couldn't get it done at the goal line. Then they bring in Goodson and run that little, get him in the flat, and he scores the receiving touchdown. Yes, I did see the 3 Tyler Algier stuffs and then the 1 Bijan carry. It was so, like the way I kind of sweat early on is I just kind of generally know who my exposures are. And I think in hindsight, I probably should have been rooting for Tyler Algier to get in there and to not have it be Bijan, because then Bijan ended up being like a piece you absolutely had to have. It was kind of why I enjoyed that, like both Kittle and Kelsey were neck and neck, because it keeps a lot more teams live. Like when one guy drops 30, then it's like, well, you just have to have that guy and all your other teams are dead. But at the time, I was tilting the shit out of that sequence just from like a pure fan standpoint of Bijan is really good. He's really good at the goal line. And yet this dumbass team wants to stubbornly jam Tyler Algier 3 straight times. That was massive tilt. And it was one of those things, I don't even know why I was tilting it, but it just made me mad to watch Bijan not get an early opportunity there. This is a wild stat from Ryan here. The Millie Maker winner scored lower than the $50 double up cash line 2 weeks ago this year. Yeah, I mean, just an absurdly low scoring slate. I believe it was a Saber Sim sub. Is it Giant Squid? Is that the DFS username who took it down with, I believe, a Brock Purdy stack as well. Mike says Ridley Chargers D is wild. It's funny you say that. And Mike, referencing the defense opposite one of your players. We actually brought that up on the block party on Friday. JM mentioned that it was kind of like one of his leaks where when he's hand building or making lineups that it doesn't feel good to put that in. If you're looking at Sims and if you kind of think it through, like it's not that weird, right? Like the whole thing with a defense that we're looking for some kind of defensive score, right? We're not looking for a low scoring game. We're looking for a team that is going to chuck and is going to be prone to turnovers. And I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. If they're chucking a ton, you could be racking up volume. You could be getting a big play, a broken play. And then the quarterback can also throw a pick 6 and get your defense home. So I don't actually think there's that strong of a negative correlation there. And the Sims would kind of suggest that there isn't either. So I don't really gnaw wave that. I do know, like if I'm hand building, I still probably shy away from it. I I think it's also a little bit less appealing if it's a running back versus the DST, because then I do think you run into a little bit more of like game script concerns. Whereas if the defense is smashing and you have a running back, say one that doesn't catch a lot of passes, like I don't think you would want to do Derrick Henry against the opposing defense, because now you're starting to run into issues where when that defense is crushing and if they have a lead, then Henry maybe isn't on the field as much. But with these pass catchers, I don't think it is bad. And I want to say that it was the lineup we built on Friday with JM. We had Hunter Henry in there with the Bears defense. So I think that was the where the conversation came up. All right. This was my lineup there. Let's head over to the other SPY. This is the 150K SPY with 25K to first, 1,600 entries in this. So about a third of the size of the other one. I wanted to run a Vikings onslaught. I had written that up for Fantasy Life. I obviously, like everyone else, really liked this spot for the Vikings and wanted to roll out kind of their 4 premium pieces. I thought Sam Darnold was a good value at 6,200. I thought Aaron Jones was one of the best values on the slate, as did everyone else. I thought Justin Jefferson might get a little squeezed because of his price tag. That's not the case. I'll go through the ownership percentages here. And then I tossed on TJ Hawkinson, another guy I liked in the mid-range at tight end, just his role expanding and just wanting to capture as much of the Vikings points in this spot as possible. You know, the thought being if they go for 35, I could have a very strong lineup. So here was the team I ran around the Vikings onslaught. Sam Darnold at 11.2%. Aaron Jones, very chalky at 32%. Kareem Hunt was kind of the running back pivot for me there at 5.6%. Jefferson comes in at 16.6%. That was higher than I imagined. This also had DeAndre Hopkins kind of playing that Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins mini there. He was at 31%. A.D. Mitchell at 27%. Hawkinson at 2.5%, and then Eckler, who I had lock buttoned in all 3 of my lineups at 14%, and then Patriots defense. So this is kind of how my onslaught lineups have shook out, where you get 1 to 2 key pivots in there, but then because the overall onslaught is going to be pretty unique, it's jamming in a lot more chalk around it. This lineup ends up cashing despite only scoring 120.34 points. Again, shows you the difference in playing in bigger contests, right? My other lineup scored 117.6 and didn't cash. This one, let's see, would this one have cashed if it was in the other one? How many did this paid out 367 spots. It would have been close. No, it would have barely missed the cash line over there. But my point still stands. It's easier to cash in smaller tournaments here. Overall feel okay about this lineup. I think the one thing I blinked at initially when I was looking at this lineup in the Sims was playing Hopkins, but because he was paired with Kareem Hunt, I always liked those kind of secondary correlations. So I let that one go. And I liked getting 3 running back plays in here as well. Another kind of pivot off of the uber chalk Bears defense with Pat. So this lineup is fine. It's just the Aaron Jones run out and the Sam Darnold run out were brutal. You know, you need a Jefferson touchdown for him to pay off. Darnold throws 3 interceptions. Aaron Jones gets carted off, but then comes back. Just an overall underwhelming day for the Vikings. And when that core stack doesn't hit, the onslaught is going to flop. Yes, this is well said. Onslaughting would have won yesterday had there been a game or team to onslaught. Yeah, it was. I'll show you my my Niners one here in a sec, but that was pretty much the closest we got to it. And it is like, it kind of breaks my brain sometimes when I think about like onslaughting and correlation on lower scoring slates, right? Because on the one hand, if you tell me ahead of time it's going to be an extremely low scoring slate, and there are not going to be a lot of teams, you know, going over their total or whatever, that makes me want to onslaught more, because I'm saying if I can just find that one offense that does perform, then all I have to do is get one thing right. All of these other games failed. I landed on the one offense that scores 30 points and I win. And yet yesterday was so low scoring and none of the offenses went off that it was more of a, you know, pick the guy who gets 16 points here, pick the guy who gets 15 here. I guess there were some kind of correlations that worked, like Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelce, that one would have worked. Bijan Robinson and Drake London, that worked there. So there was a couple out there, but yeah, definitely not a good day for overstacking. The Saints were the team to onslaught? Not really. I mean, Kamara got beat out by a lot of the other running backs. Taysom Hill got beat out by a lot of the other tight ends. Like MVS was really their only player who went off there. You just needed one off MVS. There you go. I onslaughted the Saints with a Bijan running back. So yeah, if you had Bijan and MVS, you didn't need anything else. All right, let's look at this last team that I made here, and then we'll look at the Deposit Kingdom contest. So in addition to the Vikings onslaught, I wanted to run a Niners onslaught. I love this spot for them. They had the biggest total on the slate, and I think people were not going to get, a lot of the ownership on the Niners pieces wasn't going to get out of hand because there were a lot of decent options. CMC being back kind of pulled ownership away from Debo and Kittle. Jennings and Pearsall kind of pulled ownership away from each other. And I was kind of running some of the sims to look at the best versions of a San Francisco onslaught. And initially, I thought I was going to do one with CMC. I kind of wanted the Brock CMC angle, but the lineup I ended up liking the most ended up featuring 3 wide receivers, Debo, Jennings, and Pearsall. And I did this one in the much smaller field contest. This one here is a 568-person red zone. And I'll read the full team to you. Brock Purdy at 23%. The stack was to Debo Samuel, 13%, Jennings, 13%, Ricky Pearsall, 10%. And then it had Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, Taysom Hill, Breece Hall, and Bears defense. So getting in 3 of the stronger running back plays, a highly projected tight end, and then just onslaughting the Niners passing game. So this one, again, I think this was my highest scoring lineup, 126.52. It does end up cashing here thanks to, the Brock to Juwan and Pearsall. Just couldn't quite get the other pieces to come together. Just needed Bijan. If I have Bijan instead of, Aaron Jones or Breece Hall, then we are cooking here. But just couldn't quite get the pieces to line up. But I did like this lineup a lot, and kind of taking advantage of the ambiguity with the Niners and attacking some of these cheaper pieces there with Jennings and Pearsall. Yes, this was another one. Zion's left shoe says, did you see Taysom's 90-yard TD called back? I did. Yeah, I heard. I mean, wasn't that that was like 5 minutes into the slate. I actually haven't seen the clip yet. I saw people talking about it. That was another one I was conflicted on at the time because I knew I had him in this lineup. I ended up kind of pumping the brakes on Taysom on Underdog because he ended up settling at like tight end 5. He was getting drafted 100% of the time. And if I'm looking to take the volatility on at tight end, I want to be on Taysom when he's not 100% drafted. So I had more Kyle Pitts. I had more Dalton Kincaid, more Hunter Henry. So I was actually kind of scared of the Taysom thing. I was like, God damn it. If Taysom nukes at 100% draft rate on Underdog, that is probably going to end the day for me. But yes, tilting nonetheless. Kamara had a huge drop too. That was, he was wide open on a pass from Derek Carr. I think he would have just walked into the end zone and just bounced off his chest. Is this real? Petty theft took down the FanDuel Millie. This guy fucking uses up 4,000 characters for a retirement post on Twitter and then is out there shipping the FanDuel Millie. Now, I know he retired from NBA, but still. Petty theft and Sam Sherman with their fake retirements. Yeah, man. The Jets stuff, when we get to Underdog and I show you my best lineup that I thought had a sweat, you will realize why I was massively tilting the Jets as well. I mean, just so unbelievably Jover for the Jets. For them to have that, collection of talent with Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall, and to go against a Cardinals defense that has been very bad. They've given up big games, both on the ground, through the air. And for them to go there and put that performance out there was just absurd. I had tons of Wilson, tons of Adams, tons of Breece Hall on Underdog. Very tilting. I sympathize with you Jets drafters here. Yeah. I didn't watch the whole game. I just saw the, whatever highlights were showing up on Red Zone, generally of the Cardinals offense. Speaking of the Cardinals offense, I swear to God, this guy, Trey McBride, first of all, his inability to find the end zone is absurd. There was a stat from JJ's data dump, JJ Zacharyson. He has a terrific kind of, he does a thread and then he sends it out via his email. Check out this stat about Trey McBride. Trey McBride now has 552 receiving yards without a receiving touchdown. This year, tight ends have scored a receiving touchdown for roughly every 170 receiving yards. By expectation, for every 170 receiving yards, you should have a touchdown. And Trey McBride has lapped that 3+ times and still not scored a touchdown. But do you know what this dude does love to do? Fucking hurdle people. I swear to God, the second this guy gets the ball in the open field, he's thinking about nothing other than jumping. That's all this guy lives for, is just getting the ball and trying to jump over someone. Trey, have you ever thought about trying to jump over the imaginary threshold that is the end zone? I think that's what we need to tell Trey McBride. Imagine that there's a hurdle, or it's like the steeplechase. And it's like, Trey, when you get the ball, you just can jump into the end zone. Can you do that for me one time, Trey? Jump into the end zone? Jesus. I don't even know why I'm tilting him so hard. I didn't have a ton of him yesterday. He actually had like a decent game, but I'm just like, how can this guy not fucking find the end zone? All right. Let's see here. Let's head to the Deposit Kingdom contest here and see who shipped this. I had all three of those lineups that I just showed you guys in here. Shout out to Gibo here. Took it down. First place for 2K. Had a Brock Purdy to Juwan Jennings and George Kittle stack. Had Bijan, James Cook, Khalil Shakur, A.D. Mitchell, Travis Kelce, and Patriots defense. This is a sick lineup. Obviously, you need Bijan. You get the nice stack there with Purdy to Jennings and Kittle. You get, I like that little running back wide receiver pairing, James Cook and Khalil Shakur, taking advantage of some of that value in the Bills offense with Amari Cooper out. You play kind of the chalk. A.D. Mitchell was kind of hard to get away from at 3,400. Ended up having a solid game at that price. And then the sick thing here is the double elite tight end, Kittle and Kelce, which honestly would have played on Underdog yesterday too. I actually kind of want to tap through and see if there were any double tight end lineups up there, but Kittle, Kelce, pretty sick. And then a Patriots defense at 19.5% for 167.02. I hate to do this to you. Gibo. What would that have done? 167.72 versus 167.02. So, okay, that would have been second in the big spy there for 40K. But I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that to you, Gibo. You won the contest that matters. Gibo does a 49er stack sans Debo. You know what? I didn't even realize that might be an homage to Debo. Gibo, if you're in the chat, one, I apologize for telling you how much you would have won had you put this in the big spy. And two, let us know if that is a reference to Debo Samuel or just a coincidence. Second place was our guy, Zach. I know he was sweating this in the Discord. Also had a Brock Purdy to Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle stack. Had Kamara and Bijan. Had Josh Downs. Had Courtland Sutton and Will Dissly for the double tight end there. And then Jags defense. So another really strong lineup here. Again, just a few points off of first place. So I'm sure Zach was very much tilting that Alvin Kamara drop. Was tilting a Josh Downs drop there. I don't know why I'm like just bringing up all of the ways these lineups would have won. I apologize for that. But it was a day for sheeshes yesterday. I hope you guys all check out the column that Ian Harditz does every week on Fantasy Life, where he kind of rounds up all of the near misses. Always one of the more cathartic / maddening things to read. I feel like it's always like I read it through two lenses. Like sometimes you're like, no, I played good. if that would have just gone my way, I would have won, trust the process. And sometimes you read it and you're like, holy fucking shit, I would have won a lot of money if Taysom Hill's 80-yard touchdown wasn't called back. So you do need a trigger warning before you read the sheesh report. But there is going to be a lot of fodder for it from week 10. Look at Zach here, gifting out some YouTube memberships here after his, we'll call it a semi-bink. We're going to call it a semi-bink, Zach. I'm guessing you had this lineup in some other contests as well, probably had some nice finishes. Thank you, Zach, for the YouTube memberships. As a reminder, with the YouTube memberships, you guys can always get access to a few different things depending on what level you're at. The highest tier is the Hand Builder and Opto Bros. That gets you access to both premium shows I do a week. I do DFS After Dark on a Saturday night. That's an interview series from people around the DFS space. Sometimes it's casual conversation. Sometimes we're talking in the weeds DFS strategy. Sometimes we're drafting teams, building lineups. Always a fun time. Had Andy 8052, who you guys might know from the worlds of crypto, from the club, from the Deposit Kingdom chats. And that was a very fun show. And then it also gets you access to the Sunday morning crams that we do every Sunday, 10:30 a.m. We run through the slate. You get my kind of final take on, the plays based on the ownership, the overnight news, and the projections. And then we also look at the Sims, build some lineups. So become a YouTube member and get access to those. And then if you're the Hand Builder and Opto Bro, it also unlocks a private channel in the Discord as well, the Deposit Kingdom Discord. And there are instructions on how to sync your YouTube and Discord accounts in there, and then it'll unlock that. And you can always let me know if you have any issues with that. Chunk the Deuce played a Cooper Rush lineup who ended up with 0. I had to be last place. I don't even know if they'll let me scroll all the way down. See, they don't let me scroll all the way down. I guess I could export the lineups to CSV. But I will take your word for it, Chunk the Deuce. Look at that. We got some new YouTube members here. Good morning, Paul. Let's see who else won here in the kingdom. Let me go back up. TD Westlow had a Brock Purdy to Pearsall and Kittle. Ratwell had a Purdy to Pearsall and Kittle. So Cash, here's our first Justin Herbert one. That was the other kind of value stack. It was Purdy and Herbert who were really standing out as the top values at quarterback. Ran a Justin Herbert to Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston. Again, it shows you how low scoring of a slate this was, that this stack that combined for less than 40 total points from that trio still finishes 5th because of the Bijan play and then the Calvin Ridley bring back. Okay, so that's what did it. So you run the classic double stack with the bring back and get Calvin Ridley there. That is pretty sick. Look at this afternoon only sweat here. Justin Herbert double stack with the Ridley bring back and Marvin Harrison Jr. Man, pretty good for some more contrarian wide receiver picks. Marvin Harrison at 2%, Ridley at 2%. Nice team there. And then also Eagles defense, scoring 20 points at sub 6% ownership. Pretty sick play there. See our guy CLN with a Brock Purdy stack. Ooh, a little Mac Hollins in here. That was a nice little pivot down there for the value options. Najee Harris, who I liked in this lineup. I thought he was going to have a bigger day. But man, the Cordell Patterson stuff, I was like, right off the rip, when I saw CPAT getting some carries, I'm like, oh boy, this is not going to go as well as I would have hoped. Thoki here with the Russ Wilson. Nice team here. SM or S McGee here had a Purdy, S Rector, Purdy. And then, there's our guy, Demo Zone. Also had a Purdy with the double tight end. Holy cow. Kendrick Bourne here. Man, if you just have Keyshawn Boutte, I'm going to call you directionally accurate. Then you're really cooking with this lineup. So there's our top 10 for the Deposit Kingdom. If you guys want to have your lineups reviewed, if you want to compete with us in this contest, it is a rake-free listener league. We've been doing a $10 3 max, $2,000 to first place. got the payout smoothed out last week, 2,000, 1,000, 900, 800, down to 10th place being 10% of the first place prize. So nice contest here. This link is exclusively posted in the Deposit Kingdom Discord, generally on Tuesdays. Those of you who DM me, when is it going to post? It's there every Tuesday afternoon. I swear to God, every week I get a couple DMs. It'll be like 1:30. It's like, where's the Deposit Kingdom link? I'm going to post it, man. I'm going to post it. I promise, like clockwork, every single Tuesday afternoon, I will post that link. You don't need to DM me. I'm going to post it, brother. I promise. I promise. I would never rug you on the DraftKings rake-free $10 Deposit Kingdom League. It's coming. You just got to show patience. It's like when April is just yelling, more blueberries at me. More blueberries. I'm like, April, I'm washing the blueberries. I got to cut some of them. Some of them are too big. It's a choking risk. Can you see that I'm holding the blueberries in my hand right now, April? I promise they're going to be there in like 30 seconds. If you can just wait, like 30 seconds, the blueberries are going to be there. All right. That's about it for my coffee this morning. All right. As we segue over to Underdog, I want to give an update on the giveaway that we did on the Deposit Kingdom channel. So to kind of celebrate the heater I've been enjoying on Underdog, I wanted to do a $700 giveaway. The reason for that $700 was I had 100 entries in last week's Battle Royale when I finished second for 20K. So I wanted to give someone else an opportunity to put 100 entries into this coming week's Battle Royale. So that would be week 11. So the contest had a little bit of game theory to it. I basically asked for everyone to guess who they thought would be in the winning BR lineup, but then it was going to be the correct response with the least amount of guesses. And I have the tally. My guy, producer Mark here, ended up showing us there were 9 George Pickens. There were 5 Drake London guesses. There were 5 James Conner guesses. There were 5 Bijan Robinson guesses. Let me pull up this winning lineup here so you can also see what we are talking about here. 5 Bijan. There were 4 Jalen Hurtses and only 3 Travis Kelce guesses. So multiple guesses on every single one of the players that were in this winning lineup, but only 3 people selected Travis Kelce, including Mark Zorner here in the chat. Here's the deal. So what I had said is that I was going to spin the wheel to see who won the 700. But I wanted to check in with our 3 winners first. I'm going to pull you guys up on the screen here. You can see the people I searched here. It was Mark Zorner, aka Mike Warner 33. It was Stephen Burr 2191 and Schmo 5070. So I said I wanted you guys to all send me an email so I could kind of get a group chat going and we can figure out how to do this. I want to give you guys the option not to spin a wheel for it. I think the 2 other options I would float would be, 1, you guys split it. If you want to split it, that's fine. 2 would be you guys do a 3-man contest this week, an Underdog private 3-man, and the winner of that contest gets the kitty, so to speak. Or we can just spin the wheel if you guys can't agree on it. But because all 3 of you had nice guesses, because I didn't have like the perfectly elegant solution for how to do this, I want to get all of you guys together. So please email me, Mark, Steven, and Schmo, and we can all get on the same page and figure out how we want to either divvy up or compete for this $700. So congratulations to you guys. You can keep rooting for me on Underdog because if I have another score like this again, we'll do another giveaway like this. I think it was a fun way to run a contest. All right, there's Steven. All right, so I'm asking you guys to. I mean, is Schmo in the chat? Can we just get this figured out in the chat on this show? Mark and Steve, what is your guys' initial reaction? The chat wants a 3-man contest. You know what we could do? We could take the prize pool so no one comes up empty-handed. Like it could be a 3-man that's not necessarily winner take all. You know, it could be like 400, 200, 100. We could do something like that. See, Smo wants to split. There he is. There's Schmo. See, this is what I was worried about, was there not being a consensus here. Please, all three of you, just please email me and we'll figure this out. We're not going to be able to figure out a consensus with you guys typing away in the chat and me trying to suss it out as other people say you should fight in a 3-man boxing match. If we can't come to a consensus, I'm just doing what I said initially, which is spinning the wheel for the winner take all. But if cooler heads can prevail, it's like a real prisoner's dilemma here about how this is going to get figured out. But congratulations to all three of you. Email me at contact@peteroverzet.com. I'll get us all on a group email thread. We'll hammer it out and we'll let the people know what we ended up settling on. All right, let's head over to Underdog. Like I said, I had a pretty much near even or a break even kind of day. I had 5 entries in the bomb, had a team that was, I think, in second place after the morning games that ended up holding on for 20th place for a little 8x there. I do love the DeBomb payout structure is awesome. To be able to 8x on 20th place is really nice. This was my lineup in there. I had the Kirk Cousins to Bijan and Darnell Mooney. I had George Pickens on this. I had Aaron Jones and I had Travis Kelce. So pretty nice lineup other than the Kirk Cousins stuff not really getting home. And then the Aaron Jones dud there. Basically needed like JT instead of Aaron Jones. And then like maybe Mahomes instead of Cousins would have gotten me back up there. But didn't take that down. I want to say, do I see this username Kev Slice was also at the top of the BRs? I wonder how similar his lineup was over in that spot. He must have had a good day because I'm pretty sure he was at the top of the leaderboards times 2. In Battle Royale, I did max it this week. I normally have not been having enough time to max it. Last week I had 100 entries. This week I got to 150 and just nearly break even in the contest. This was the team I was sweating. I finished in 53rd place with 112.58 points. The team was Jalen Hurts, Bijan, Austin Eckler, Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison, and Travis Kelce. So a double scroll here. Eckler, who had an ADP of 35.5, who wasn't getting drafted a ton, and Marvin Harrison, who had an ADP of 35. And fucking Devontae Adams, man, that game was like over midway through the third quarter. And I'm just sitting here. I needed 5 more points to be in the top 10. I'm 5 points off of a T10 finish. Mark, do you want to know that what Devontae Adams' target share was in this game yesterday? I know because I read JJ's data dump here. He had a 39.4% target share. Caught 6 of 13 targets for 31 yards. It was the first time in his career where he saw 35% plus target share and failed to score 10 plus PPR points. So I know I'm not allowed to tilt. I'm not allowed to tilt with how things are going for me this year, but I was tilting that Devontae Adams run out just a little bit because I was like, holy shit. Like if the Jets just aren't a complete bankrupt joke of a franchise, maybe they score, maybe Marvin Harrison gets to play in the fourth quarter a little bit more. And this team starts to make some noise. But that was not meant to be. Still can't complain. Getting even just one lineup up here can really help buoy having 150 entries in there and kind of the hit you take if you completely whiff there. Had a couple other teams that I thought could have a chance to charge. I was initially sweating this lineup for a while because I had AJ Brown and I was like 15 points off of first, but then once Jalen Hurts went nuclear, this team was dead. You were going to have Jalen Hurts and not AJ Brown. This was the other one that finished a few points behind. It was a Hurts, Bijan, James Conner, Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, George Kittle. So I was on my scroll bullshit on Sunday, did a double scroll here at wide receiver to Marvin Harrison and DJ Moore. Another lineup where it's like, if this lineup just has George Pickens instead of DJ Moore, then we win all the money. If I just go the other way in that 1v1. But yeah, shout out to the Only Bird for taking it down. I was looking at this lineup, and I do think it's interesting to discuss. So Jalen Hurts, Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Drake London, George Pickens, Travis Kelce. And the first thing I thought when I looked at this lineup was, there's only one way I would have drafted this team, and it was if I would have drafted heavy volume early in the week. Because if I was drafting early in the week, James Conner's ADP really came up. He always comes up a little bit post projections. He was, someone can go fact check me on this, but I want to say he was like ADP of 33, 34 when the week opened. And then Drake London was an ADP of 30 when the week opened. He finishes at an ADP of 24, and James Conner finishes at an ADP of 31.5. So the point I'm getting at here is those guys were looking like way more undrafted guys at the beginning of the week. I think I would have been on them. Once I got to a Sunday, I was going to be scrolling past one of these guys at the end of my draft. Like, I'm just never getting to finish my draft with two guys that are both drafted 100% of the time. So one of those things where I'm just not going to win unless I would have drafted early. So maybe I need to put in a little bit more volume early, but otherwise this is a pretty chalk lineup. As far as ADP is concerned, you have a back-end pick at pick 5. You take Bijan, you come back and you slightly reach for Jalen Hurts. There were a lot of landmines this week. I guess you could have reached for George Kittle would have been fine. You probably could have grabbed Jonathan Taylor and survived that. But that Bijan and Jalen Hurts combo was pretty much mandatory. They come back in the 3rd round, grab Travis Kelce right at ADP. You come back in the, let's see what it had been, the 4th round, and you grab Drake London. In the 5th round, you grab George Pickens, and then you finish it off in the 6th round with James Conner at ADP. So other than like some slight variation of combos at the very top, just a right down the middle, you just bowl the ball right down the middle and you get a strike. The only bird takes it down there for 40K. And then there's Kev Slice again. Yeah, Kev Slice had a massive day. 2nd in DeBomb for 4K. And then 3rd place here for 10K. Congratulations, Kev Slice. Yeah, so Tim asking about no ADP chasing. A couple notes about that. There is something in the works. There might be ADP chasing continuing in some form. We'll have more updates on that shortly. But Davis is going to do his stream on his channel today at 11:45. So I think Pat might be jumping on with him so you can get like quasi ADP chasing. I have the redirect set up here for Davis. So if you guys want to head over to his live stream channel in just under an hour, you can do that and get some Davis and Kyren takes here this morning. Nico, how many teams do you put in these tournaments? So you can see my entries all right here. Battle Royale, I maxed. DeBomb is a 5 max. I put 5 in that, which is the most. Fullback Dive is a 5 max. I put 5 in that. Dawg Bowl Qualifier is 150 max tournament. I only put 15 entries in that. I normally do somewhere from 10 to 20. I max all of the smaller stuff. There was no Wildcat this week, so it was a little bit easier. We got our Deposit Kingdom Weekly League, which we'll look at in a second. They had a 3rd and short, 3 max, max that. Cover 4, 4 max, max that. I should have gotten more in the Badge Bros Ball. Extra point, single entry contest. Hail Mary single entry contest, double reverse. So basically maxed almost everything. I think I missed like the hurry up. I don't play like the playbook. I missed the flea flicker. There's a few things, but try to get in most of the contests. But again, I've said this before. You don't have to max these contests to be getting it in good. A lot of times the reason I am not maxing it is because I feel like I end up just drafting the same version of a team over and over again that I've already drafted. And so I'm like, do I really need the 14th version of this team, or can I just be good at 75 entries or 100 entries? I had some extra time on Sunday to max it, and I liked a lot of the scroll options. I was really starting to vary some of my scrolls late on Sunday. I was mixing in some Rachaad White. I was mixing in DJ Moore. I was mixing in Marvin Harrison, lots of Eckler. So there were some plays that I wasn't on earlier in the week or on Friday and Saturday when I first started drafting. So I ended up feeling inspired to get exposure to more of those guys. But yes, I will continue to say, like, you're not getting it in bad if you only do a handful of entries. Will Hurts, Lamar be first round locks every slate they are on now? So, I think the quarterback stuff is always interesting to think through. The reason it's basically like a similar dynamic kind of to DraftKings, but it's also different with these QBs because generally when the quarterbacks are really expensive, like Hurts or Lamar will be, you need them to get a ton of rushing production to get there. And that often means not stacking them is optimal. So what that means versus the people who are stacking in their lineup is you now have to get one additional thing right in your 6-person lineup because you're taking naked Jalen Hurts, and then you need to be right in those 5 other spots. When you take Travis Kelce and then you stack him with Patrick Mahomes, you're essentially giving yourself an out to saying, I only need to get 4 other things right. Like if I'm right on this stack, and obviously there are scenarios where Mahomes scores 17 and Kelce scores 15 and you needed a little bit more than Mahomes. But generally, I think that's what makes it a little trickier is the optimal way to play the expensive quarterbacks is generally unstacked. And then that means you have to be a little bit more perfect in those lineups. But by raw projection, by ceiling, they definitely deserve to be where they're priced. I just think it introduces an additional level of complexity for being right. Like if you were taking a massive overweight stance on those quarterbacks at the top, I think your portfolio is probably going to have a lot more variance on it because you're essentially having to hit on an extra thing, an extra leg of that so-called parlay than the stackers are. But it's always slate specific. And I think it's important to kind of review that through the lens too of like the opportunity cost, right? To me, when I sometimes balk at the quarterback prices, it's because I think that the 2v2s on the running back wide receiver that you're passing on versus the quarterbacks you can get late normally pushes me to taking the running back or wide receiver. But you look at this slate last week and it was a little bit weaker up there at the top, right? After, kind of like Bijan and Breece and those running backs came off the board, you saw Kittle getting pulled up because people are like, I don't have a wide receiver or running back I have to take here. You saw Jalen Hurts getting pulled up. And so on slates like that, when it is like, okay, those top 6 to 7 options are off the board. All right, now the ceiling of a Jalen Hurts, the ceiling of a George Kittle starts to look extremely appealing, and I don't think you're sacrificing anything. We saw the wide receivers going in that range, the Garrett Wilson, the Devonta Adams, the CeeDee Lamb. Like you're, if that's what you're missing on or passing on, it's not that big of a downgrade. So slate specific, understanding like tiers and what you can get later in drafts as far as quarterback, I think is really helpful. And just to put a button on that, I did think this week was a hard week at quarterback, and it did push me to a lot more of the naked rushing quarterbacks. I can show you my exposure here. I had 18% Jaden Daniels, 17% Brock Purdy, and then I was at 14.5% Jalen Hurts. And then right there below it, 9% Josh Allen. Like the scrolls at quarterback this week were not as strong. For my video, I did Justin Herbert. You can see here, I sprinkled in some Drake May, some Kirk Cousins, some Baker, some Aaron Rodgers. The miss I'm mad at from a process standpoint was not having more Kyler. He was the other one in that undrafted range that I think fit a lot of what I typically like to do. You could have played Kyler naked. You could have done Kyler with James Conner stuff. We continue to see the quarterback running back correlations hit at a pretty high frequency. I should have been on more Kyler. That was a mistake at his draft percentage. But the point here is I thought it was a pretty good week to pay up for quarterback because there were not strong pocket passers in really good spots late. Herbert, Cousins, Darnold being some exceptions. But even a guy like Darnold is probably getting overdrafted relative to like his combos, right? Like he's almost always paired with, one or two of those top pass catchers. So I think it gets like a little trickier to do it in a creative way where most of his pass catchers are at least always going to be paired with Justin Jefferson. That's why I kind of like doing Darnold with Addison or Hawkinson instead. FK Coolers, do you make an effort to track your drafts as you go along to avoid duping yourself, or are you just checking exposures periodically? Yeah, I am. It's funny you say that because in previous weeks, I had basically not been reviewing any of that. This week, I was keeping tabs on my exposures a little bit more carefully just to make sure I wasn't like overexposed to, like, if I pull up my exposures and I see I have 40% Kamara and 10% Breece Hall, I'm going to ask myself, wait, why is that happening? Am I just getting a lot of 103s, or do I actually prefer Kamara at a 4x clip? So I review my overall exposures, but I am trying to mix my scrolls so much at the end of drafts that I am not too worried about duping myself. And I'm trying to mix up my combos at the top of the draft too. I would say, honestly, the portion of a draft I struggle with the most is the middle part. I find it easy to mix up my combos at the top. It's like, oh, well, we've done Breece with Jonathan Taylor. Let's do a Breece with Kittle. Let's do a Breece with Jalen Hurts. Like that comes a little more intuitive to me. Same with the scrolls. We're at the end. Oh, let's do an Eckler. Let's do a Rashad White. Let's do a Marvin Harrison. It's in the middle of the draft that I tend to struggle because it's like, do you grab the player in this range who is maybe masquerading as an elite asset, your Devontae Adams, your CeeDee Lambs? Do you scroll to that next level, the George Pickens, the Drake Londons, and you're like, yeah, these are good plays, but they're also going to be 100% drafted. That portion of the draft from like pick 15 to pick 30, basically rounds 4 and 5, that's the trickiest part of drafts for me from an exposure standpoint, and thinking about how do I want to grab a value? Do I want to, go double or triple scroll here and just throw ADP out the window? That's really where I think you have to be careful, because the field, myself included, gets funneled to those same type of picks. In that range, that pick 15 to 30 is the most fragile portion of the draft every single week. Speaking of Dawg Bowl, which I was coincidentally just going to pull up, look who the cat just drug in. Your new qualifier here for the Dawg Bowl. Shout out Jewish McCaffrey, 116.04. Had that Kyler stack I was talking about. Did Kyler to Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. Didn't even need Trey McBride magically jumping into the end zone to win a seat. Also had Bijan, Kareem Hunt, and then Calvin Ridley. Really, really sick lineup here. I know McCaffrey has been attacking this Dawg Bowl last year, had some close calls, has been in the streets this year. So excited to meet you in Dallas, Jewish McCaffrey. Congratulations. I know it was a lot of drafts, a lot of money, a lot of hard work to get that seat. Congratulations. Also, congratulations to Future Estate. Don't recognize that username, but also had a nice lineup here. Brock Purdy to Ricky Pearsall. That ended up being a nice stack. I think this is one note about this lineup, and it's something I think about a little bit, is most of the Brock Purdy teams are generally going to come from someone who started with CMC, Debo, or Kittle. And then you take Brock Purdy in, the third round or wherever, and you stack that up. But you're not going to get a lot of people taking a naked Brock Purdy and then adding on the Pearsall or the Jennings after the fact. And I think I would just say, I know for me, that's sometime a leak in my game, specifically in the Dawg Bowl drafts, but I think in the 6-mans too, of being willing to vary how you approach a stack and just thinking someone could, if someone has the data or when we pull it or whatever, maybe you could check me on this, but I would guess that the Brock with those 3 aforementioned versus a backdoor stack was way, way, way less utilized by the field. In the Brock Purdy example yesterday, I think would have been the perfect one. Like you could have gotten home with a Brock Pearsall Jennings double stack. But yeah, shout out to Future Estate for pulling the trigger on Brock Purdy and then backdoor stacking. And then AWE, our 150 maxer here, has had a nice year, and second ticket here for AWE heading to the Dawg Bowl. So congratulations. He's done a couple of interviews over on the Badge Bros on the Winner's Circle. You can probably check him out there again today. I don't know if I saw Nez in the chat. I don't know who you guys have booked for Winner's Circle today, but be sure to check out the Badge Bros breaking down the action and bringing the winners on air every Monday. Yeah, Jewish. I mean, we knew it was a JMac year when you had when you got referenced in the Best Ball Bros video. You know, it was everything was turning up for Jewish McCaffrey. The best thing is you got to win the sprint, though. That's really what we need to happen is Jewish McCaffrey to win the sprint. Nez, you had to have had an absolute blast. Nez was at the Steelers Commanders game yesterday. And man, I saw a photo. I included it in the newsletter. Let me pull up this photo. It seemed like it was a home game for the Steelers. I mean, Steelers fans travel so well. Let me pull it. I do a weekly recap up on Fantasy Life. Make sure you guys check it out if you haven't yet. But yeah, here is this photo that I found of the stands. Loudest. Oh, this was the video of them. Hear that, but there was another photo too. I thought I put in, but Steelers fans, man, you guys travel well. Yeah, I mean that George Pickens catch, Nez. I was watching that like in real time on Red Zone when they showed that play, and I legitimately thought from like the angle that was shot at, like I thought the ball like fell out of his hands. Like I was like, there's no way he caught that. And like the way he just like kind of stayed still too after he caught that. And then you see the angle of him outstretching and bringing it back in. Unreal stuff. George Pickens with Russell Wilson has been a revelation. Underdog account actually just tweeted out his splits. George Pickens with Russell Wilson, 5 for 111 and 1, 4 for 74, 5 for 91 and 1. He's averaged, he only averaged 60.5 yards per game and 0 TDs with Justin Fields. So the George Pickens breakout is here, and it's pretty glorious. Devon, the dude, said, "What's up, Pete? First time playing in your DK league, finished 64th. Hey, it happens. 64th, first time. Not too bad. You can improve from there. All right. Let's see here if there's anything else on Underdog I wanted to take a look at. Really just had that one team in 53rd that cashed for 500, and then my team in the DeBomb that kind of salvaged this day. But otherwise not a ton to write home about. Let's check out the Deposit Kingdom League. Holy shit, Kev Slice. Kev Slice had a massive day. I know you can't quite see it here. Let me zoom and see if you can see. Here, I'll just pull up the lineup. That's easier. Kev Slice, Kev Slice, are you in the chat? Reveal yourself. Who are you, Kev Slice? You absolutely smashed yesterday. First in DeBomb, or second in DeBomb? No, first in DeBomb, third in BR, in first in the Deposit Kingdom League. Holy shit. George, this was a Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert, skinny stack, Bijan and Kareem Hunt, George Pickens, and Courtland Sutton. Holy shit. This is a sick lineup for the Deposit Kingdom contest too. Love that scroll on Sutton and Dallas Goedert. Man, ADP of 35.8 for Goedert, had an ADP of 35.8 for Sutton. I'm a little mad at my scroll process this week. I didn't have any Ridley and I didn't have any Sutton mixed in there. That feels bad. And I like using kind of like that Kareem Hunt, Courtland Sutton mini correlation. I'm always cautious to not overuse those, but like Hunt and Sutton is one that makes a ton of logical sense as far as if, you know, the Chiefs are having success on the ground and the Broncos are having to play catch up. Yeah, when's Kev Slice rolling a giveaway here? Historical anomaly, says Kev, leave a slice of pie for the rest of us. Yeah, he was gobbling it up. Nice day. Lit up here in second with a Kyler, Bijan, Breece Hall, Drake London, Marvin Harrison, Travis Kelce. So a Kyler skinny. And And then you got to have Bijan, you have the Breece Hall bring back. Could have probably won this with James Conner. Yeah, I think James Conner probably wins this for you as far as like, leaning into the full team level correlation as opposed to the bring back, but very nice lineup there by Lit Up. Turbotron in third place had Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown. I like the Evan Ingram scroll at tight end. I thought he was a pretty strong tight end scroll yesterday. Had Josh Downs, James Conner, and Bijan. So nailed quarterback and running back, just a little short at wide receiver and tight end. Zion's left shoe finished 8th in the league. Zach 0 here. Kyler, Bijan, JT, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Travis Kelce. Man, if our lesson yesterday is just like our Jets bring backs gone wrong. It's like I do think like that game, and myself included. I mean, I just showed you my Marvin Harrison, Devontae Adams team. And obviously the mini correlations can work. But you look at how games can play out, and it is a lot easier to just say one offense crushes than one offense crushes and this one piece on the other side does. So that's like a note I kind of want to continue hammering in for myself, and want to pass along that I think those tiebreakers should be adding that second piece or third piece on the offense you've already bet on, as opposed to forcing the bring back. I know the Turbotron guy. Are you Turbotron, or are you just bragging about knowing the third place finisher in the Deposit Kingdom Weekly League? If you guys aren't familiar, this contest, again, shout out to Underdog for giving us our own contest in the lobby every week. This drops Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern. We do the kind of the kickoff draft on Off and On the Clock, the show I do with the Badge Bros. And we do that around 3 p.m. Eastern every Friday when it drops. Let's see here. Our other team, Pacina 7, had a Hurts. Oh man, Brian Thomas. So Brian Thomas was one of the other scrolls I was doing on Sunday morning. 2.2 points, was out there a ton. Just that offense could not get anything going. Matt Skull, I recognize here, had the Hurts, Bijan, James Conner, but then got sunk by the Devontae Smith there, only 2.4 points. Still crazy that you could finish 5th in a contest yesterday with a 2.4 from one of your wide receivers. Pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, Hurts, Bijan, James Conner, with Kelce, pretty dominant 4 players there, can mask a lot of other deficiencies in a lineup. JaMarr 6396 had Hurts, Bijan, James Cook, AJ Brown, McLaurin, and then Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill 6 points. That was tough to overcome the Kittle and Kelce scores. We looked at Zach 0. Brad here in 9th place had Hurts, Bijan, Breece, London, Pickens, and Taysom. Same deal again. Pretty strong lineup, but the Taysom score there. And then Lit Up. Look at Lit Up. 2 T10s here for Lit Up. Mahomes to Kelce, Pickens, London, JT, Bijan. Strong lineup there, and a nice showing from Lit Up. All right, and now everybody's friends are at the top of the leaderboard. This is like all of your girlfriends live in Canada, and all of your friends finished high in the contest this week. Yeah, I'm sure. Matt Fisher got 4th in the BR, picked the wrong tight end. Hey, congrats, man. 4th in the BR. It's as I've always said, like it is, I think it takes skill to build teams that can finish top 20, top 30. It takes luck to get teams that can finish, top 5. So if you're top 4, you did well. That is a nice accomplishment in a contest that big. Beast Burst girlfriend goes to another school. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sure that photo of you with your family is real. My friend won attorney, but it was on FanDuel. You wouldn't know him. I know the Davis Maddock guy who finished in 571st place in the main. There you go. Had a rough day in the Pick 'em streets yesterday. Only won a couple pick'ems, none of the big ones. We were really close on our off and on the clock one. It was a Mason Tipton that sunk us. Yeah, we ran this one twice. This one stung. We've been so close with our game stack ones that we build on off and on the clock. No, it's not your fault, man. I like the Tipton call too. We had Taysom Hill receiving yards, Bijan rushing, smash that. Kyle Pitts higher receiving, Kamara higher receiving, and then Tipton 29.5. Like, I mean, what are we gonna do if MVS is just housing every deep ball? Imagine the tilt if we put MVS in this and MVS doesn't get there and Tipton does, and we're just like, what the hell are we doing? But yes, we will. We have been very close. I feel confident that both ship chasing and OOTC are due for some positive regression in the pick'em department here. All right, let's see. I forgot to tab over here on my show. Let's do. We can take a look at some best ball stuff here. It was obviously a huge week for JaMarr Chase teams. We have a Mastiff that we did with some of the ship chasing crew, the $1,000 tournament, and we were in 7th place heading into the week. And then if you have Joe Burrow and JaMarr Chase, well, now you're in 3rd place. So pretty huge boost there. This is a fun team. I think where did I pull this up? Did I pull it up on off and on the clock? Maybe that was where I pulled it up. I forget where I pulled it up. But just the running backs are weak. You know, where it's a classic ship chasing team. Love your quarterbacks. Love your wide receivers. JaMarr Chase, Deebo Samuel, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, AD Mitchell. A little worried about your running backs. Raheem Mostert, Jaleel McLaughlin, Chuba Hubbard, the one guy just putting this goddamn team on his back. Marshawn Lloyd, where art thou? Samaje Perine had a nice screen pass yesterday. Audric Estime, snaps on the rise. Will Shipley, we're going to need some help at running back here, but always nice if you can get a team advancing in the high dollar contest. Speaking of advancing, let's check out my advance rate over on bbmdb.com here. We are at 20 out of 150. So I'm now below, I believe last week I was like at 25. My expected advance rate right here at 14.4%. Yeah, I'm trying to think of my exposures and how things shook out for me yesterday. Seahawks on bye this week, right? Neighbors, monster target share, no points. Chase Brown, good. Brock Bowers on bye. Rico did nothing. Jonathan Brooks on a season bye. He gets every week off. Zay Flowers, what? Did he have a quiet game on Thursday night? I can't even remember. Yeah, I think he did. Troy Franklin, who are you? Bucky, good. Ray Davis, still a little bit of a mixed bag. Xavier Worthy, as I said yesterday on Twitter, if the field was 1 yard wider, Xavier Worthy would be the best player in all of fantasy football. But unfortunately, he is not and steps out of bounds on every goddamn play. Keon Coleman didn't play. JSN on bye. George Kittle tutty. Thought we were going to get Nico back last night. Had the game time decision. They activated him. And then late scratch. So mixed bag from the exposures. Makes sense that I dropped a few teams there. Let's see what a first place team in Best Ball Mania looks like. Actually, no. Let's see what a third place team looks like. Because we got our guy Mathology. We're talking about the people who are having their year. It's Jewish McCaffrey year. It's Mathology year. Also punched a ticket to the Dawg Bowl, sitting here in 3rd place. Now, before I pull this up, I imagine this is a mixed emotions, right? Because sitting in 3rd place last year at this time, you're looking at some serious coin, right? What was 3rd place in the regular season payouts? I don't know what got into me today. I don't know why every team I'm just like, oh, you would have made this much money if you were in this contest. Oh, you would have done this. I apologize. I apologize for whatever got into me to say Mathology. This team would have been worth $100,000 last year. And instead it has like $27 of EV based on how this tournament works. But nonetheless, Nonetheless, shout out to Mathology. 3rd place overall right now. Look, is this a gritty team? Is this a goddamn gritty team? Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Jade Daniels? Look at you. DeVon Achane, Barkley, Joe Mixon, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving. This is a gritty team. JaMarr Chase, Terry McLaurin, Jamison Williams, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Tolbert, Johnny Wilson, Pat Freiermuth, Mike Gesicki, and Zach Ertz. Man, what a running back smash. Achane, Barkley, Mixon, Chase, Bucky. Look at Mathology. Just bam. Achane, Barkley, bam. Joe Mixon, bam. Chase Brown, bam. Bucky Irving, bam. 5 for 5. What's cool about that too is like the variety of profiles here too. Like the typical Barkley and Mixon drafter is not the typical Achane, Chase Brown, and Bucky drafter. I love building those mixed bag there. And man, yeah, like hitting on, Josh Downs in the mid-range, like having JMO, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Tolbert really nailing the mid-range wide receivers there. And a nice little tight end room there too. Sick team. Just imagine if one of these quarterbacks was another wide receiver. Imagine how sick it would be. Jalen, come on. What are we doing? What was this? Is that 4th round Jalen Hurts? 8th round Joe Burrow? 9th round Jaden Daniels? What are we doing with this 3rd quarterback? I love everything about this team except the 3rd quarterback. He fell to 120. Okay. Actually, I can just view the draft here. Chase, Achane, Barkley, Hurts, McLaurin, Mixon, Jamison, Brown, Burrow. And then he came back and said, Jane Daniels at 10-9 with my Terry. Who am I? Who am I to nitpick this? Who am I? Dude, you even got a Johnny Wilson touchdown yesterday. That's how you know you're cooking. That's how you know it's your year. When you get a Johnny fucking Wilson tutty. All right. Let's check out Guillotine. We got the Deposit Kingdom Guillotine League here. I am still alive and well in my 2 other Guillotine leagues. Why I had to choose the one of my 3 Guillotine leagues that I review every morning on this stream to be the one I got bounced from, I do not know. This has now become an exercise in masochism. But let's check out the leaderboard here. Holy cow, Nana Pete dropping 163. Lamar, Brees, Bijan, Pickens, Adams, Hunt, Connor, Kelsey. I know you guys have heard me describe how this format works around here. If you haven't or you're unfamiliar, it's like the eliminator contest on Underdog, except the wrinkle is this is a managed league. You start players and there's a weekly waiver wire. And the team that gets eliminated each week, their entire roster becomes available in the following week's free agent pool. So essentially teams are getting better and better and better as the season progresses. And you're trying to walk this tightrope of advancing, not being the worst placed team every week, but also kind of saving your money for the really key additions, but not spending too much. It's kind of a fun format as far as thinking through the game theory on that and knowing when to spend your money, when to sit on it. But Nana Pete definitely going to survive here. Looking at projected, it looks like TheChosenDeezer is done. 60.94 points with nothing left to go. So we are going to lose Devin this week. There is no drama on Monday Night Football. Baker, Rico, Jalen Warren, Addison, Tank Dell, ETN, Lamb, and Gesicki. Man. Had Brock Bowers on bye. This is just a team that's just taken too many hits. I'm sorry, TheChosenDeezer. This just isn't a good team, man. I don't know what to tell you. Where are your stars? Who's your 1st round pick? Have you not been active on the waiver? How much fab do you have? I don't know why I'm being such an asshole this morning. How much fab do you have, Deezer? Whatever. I'm being a jerk. I'm being a jerk this morning. No sweat though for us here. I was just looking at that team and I was like, shouldn't you have better players on it? Like I'll show you the teams or my other teams who's on them. So I have a Lamar, Barkley, Achane, Debo, Tank Dell, Aaron Jones, Javonte, and Cade team here. Has JSN. Like I've started to like really pack my bench here. And then in the other one, the Fantasy Life League, I have this one I need to get better at quarterback. Let me go to the team view. This one I have Rodgers, Kyren, Bijan, Zay, Debo, Kareem Hunt, Chase Brown, George Kittle. This one I need to make a splash. I had picked up Adams, who I didn't play this week because I ended up going Chase Brown, Hunt, Bijan, and Kyren. Had Brock Bowers on bye. Nice to kind of lock up two of those top tight ends in this format. I'm not grumpy. I don't know why I've just positioned everything is just the lens of what could have been. It all started with me just saying like, maybe if Devontae Adams turns a 40% target share into, I don't know, 3 more points. Okay, TheChosenDeezer only has $37 left. In that case, what the fuck have you been spending your money on, bro? What are you spending money on? I'm kidding. All right, let's do some Monday Night Football stuff. We got about 25 more minutes until I am going to power it down, and you guys can go and watch Davis over on his stream. I actually did some research this morning looking at the Pick 'em lobby, found a few different spots I like and can pass along some research. Was reading the walkthrough article by Matt Irby over at Legendary Upside, the quick slant, I should say. Was looking at some of the DVP data on Fantasy Life, looking at some of the RotoViz matchup raters. I can throw some stats at you guys. I'm curious too, the stuff that you like. Some interesting notes on this game. The Dolphins have been very good against opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers. They're tied for the fewest fantasy points allowed to wide receivers and the 4th fewest to QBs. When I looked at the DVP boosts, fantasy boosts on Fantasy Life, which I can show you here, they had the least amount of fantasy boost to opposing quarterbacks. You can see here a negative 7.5. This is quarterbacks against the Dolphins score 7.5 fantasy points less than they do on average. Same for wide receivers. Down here at what's the boost? Oh, not quite as bad for wide receivers. It was overall fantasy points allowed was still very low, but yeah, bottom 3rd in the league for that. So that's an interesting wrinkle. Now, there was a nugget as far as if you were wanting to fade the Rams passing game. Matt Irby had an interesting nugget about Kupp, which made me kind of continue to like him. He said Kupp does well against the alignments that the Dolphins typically play. He ranks, he's excellent against cover 3, ranking 4th with 0.71 fantasy points per route. And he says he has the best best matchup of Rams pass catchers as well in the slot against their slot corner, who's been pretty bad. So where I'm kind of leaning is fading like the Stafford and Puka stuff and maybe playing stuff through Cooper Kupp. I didn't mind his yardage at 66 yards there. The other one that I really liked was Jonnu Smith. So looking at the matchup stuff, the stuff for Jonnu looks really good. The Rams have been the 8th best matchup based on PPR over their last 5 games. And they kind of funnel stuff to the middle of the field a little bit more. So when I was eyeballing this stuff, either 34.5 receiving yards or just taking the fantasy points at 7.25 looked pretty nice to me here for Jonnu. He's been at 7, 4, and 5 catches of late. I think I kind of like the receptions there, just the way he's been used. Let me see. Historical Anomalies always has some good nuggets for us outside of the box, but Safford's 71% completion has gone over 1 out of last 11 games 3 times in the last 22. Not usually a game log chaser, but seems good. So you like the lower there on that, and that actually tracks with not loving this for the passing game. I can be on board with that. That was one that I was not going to be on. It's kind of a brutal sweat. Trying to keep tabs on the completion percentage throughout the game, but hey, I like a good angle here. Yeah, if I'm using something else on the Dolphins, I definitely think it's Achane. He's been, so much of their offensive production. If we look at the lines here, I'm going to use an idea box here to just toss the stuff we like in, and then we can kind of maybe mix and match or round robin it a little bit. So these are the Achane lines. It's even money to score rushing or receiving TD. The thing that's been so interesting about Achane this year is he's been more of like a volume monster. He hasn't really had the big explosive plays yet. I mean, 106.5 rush scrimmage yards is definitely a big number. But he's been getting there with ease lately. 45.5 receiving yards. Past few weeks, he's been at 50 and 58. Definitely like the receiving yard angle with Achane. Josh likes Achane's longest rush. What is that at? Where is that? Longest rush, 13.5. Interesting. Yeah, that does seem a little light for him. I mean, it makes sense why it's there this year, just because he hasn't been as... But I think that stuff can be fluky, right? Like the big play stuff can be a little bit fluky. It's definitely in his bag. What other ideas do we like? Josh likes Parkinson under receiving yards, although it looks like it's moved down a tad. Yeah, I don't mind betting against a lot of the Rams passing game stuff outside of Puka and Cup. Where is Colby Parkinson? Yeah, what do you play just the receptions? I want to look at what Colby Parkinson's role has been lately. It's a little like the splits with the Ram stuff is a little tricky because they've just had Cup and Puka in and out of the lineup so much. Wow, yeah. So he's been at 54%, 74%, 93 or 43%. Didn't earn a single target last week. Let's see how are the Dolphins against tight end? Dolphins about middle of the road tight end. No, bottom third against tight end here. Let's see yardage. Let's do receiving yard boost and see where they are there. Yeah, about 4.7 less yards to tight ends there. Man, this is a tough one. I was thinking about this too. FK Cooler says, I know it's gross, but maybe something with Waddle if we think Hill is out or limited tonight. Yeah, Waddle has just been so uninvolved lately. Let's see. Let's just look at these past couple games with Tua. Yeah, so he's out there running all the routes. Targets per route run has been bad. I mean, I guess 2 weeks ago, 18%, 17%. The thing I think that's interesting about the Dolphins is how much we throw out this game with the Bills. Matt Irby had a stat outside of the game against Buffalo. Tua averages 267 yards per game in 19.63 PPR points there. So his line today is 242.5 passing yards and 17.55 fantasy points. So it's how much we want to weight that Buffalo game against what we've seen. And, in my head too, I'm like just thinking back to the Seahawks offense just absolutely lighting up this Rams secondary last week and how much like JSN and Lockett were able to get deep. It does kind of make me like Tua stuff, and maybe that should put me a little bit on Waddle. I'm a little worried about the Mostert stuff. He's had some mistakes, and Jalen Wright is kind of starting to come on a little bit as well. Look at this usage here. We saw Raheem Mostert's snaps go down from 47 to 23, and we see Jalen Wright's pop up from 5 to 15%. I'm just a little spooked on Mostert stuff as that role is kind of getting shifted around. Ooh, this might be, I hadn't thought to look at the rivals yet. This is intriguing to me. Because I was trying to think of a way. Here's another stat for Kyren Williams here. Kyren Williams has scored over 6.5 more fantasy points per game when Cooper Kupp and Kyren are in the offense. In games with Kupp and Nakua, the Rams gain over 70 more passing yards, 1.25 TDs per game more through the air. Obviously, it makes sense. Their passing game is better with two of the best wide receivers in football, but I do think playing that angle as being not as good for the running game is interesting. Let's see. Achane getting 27 rushing yards. Man, I kind of like that. So what has he been at? 63, 97, and 77. Oops. And then Kyren has been at 69, 97, and 70. Man, I love this one, dude. B-Spurf. Your girlfriend might live in Canada and go to another school, but I really like this one. Wait, did you say? Yeah, 27 rushing yards on Kyren from one of the more explosive backs in football versus one of the more inefficient runners too. I love this one. This rushing yards one is going to be a core. I'm a little scarred from the +2 for longest rush. We had the Kyren versus Aaron Jones Thursday night in the Shipcast, and I was on Aaron Jones' longest rush, and then Kyren beat him. That was kind of an agonizing sweat. Okay. Let's see here. I like this one here. Jonnu, higher than 3.5 receptions. We'll go with the Matthew Stafford 71 completion. Let's build a couple, but this is a good one to start us here. I'm going to lock this one in. I'll drop this in the chat. If you guys are listening after the fact, I'll put these in the comments in the YouTube video. Let's we're going to leave this rushing yards one in here. This is going to be the core thing here. Let's do I kind of like the idea of the Parkinson lower. What do we want there? This actually might be a smart way to play it, Tim, because if we want to do something with Dolphins, like we can't have just all Dolphins. So maybe if I wanted to play something with Tua and Waddle, maybe we just play Kyren lower than 87. I kind of like that. Kyren lower than 87.5. The Tua, what do we like more for Tua here? Do we like fantasy points 17.55 or 247.5? Like I said, his outside of the Buffalo game, he's been at 267 yards passing in 19.63 PPR. As much as they're using Achane at the goal line, I kind of like just playing the passing yards. What if we do a little 3-legger with just a slight slide on passing yards? I mean, how many did Geno throw for I want to look at some of these recent Rams games. So Geno threw for 363. Darnold threw for 240. Minshew threw for 154, but had 3 INTs. Love threw for 224. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we ladder up the Tua. And I do like that correlation, right? Well, actually, do we like that correlation? Kyren lower rushing yards with Tua pass stuff. I think the 259 is about the sweet spot there. Do we like the bounce back for Waddle? Let's see what this looks like. No, they don't have anything up for Waddle right now. That's a bummer. I do think we could toss in the Jonnu thing. I do still really like if Tua is getting up here, I think Jonnu is the other one we played Jonnu receptions. What if we play, I mean, we're probably going to get, we could either slide Jonnu receptions or we could just play like fantasy points. So that gets us to about a 6x versus if we do 34.5, that is a 5.3x. If we slide Jonnu to 39.5, that's a 6.13. I think I'd like the touchdown out in that case and just play the 7.25 fantasy points at 6x. Yeah, any bits on Tyreek stuff? I haven't seen anything. We can do a quick Twitter search. Questionable. His agent says Hill will try and play tonight. As far as Hill potentially needing surgery, Juice says that's discussing will be kept in-house. That's kind of a bearish thing. Game time decision. Let's play the Waddle stuff. I think, man, will they hang us anything Waddle or are they going to be too scared? Damn. That's a bummer. It would be really nice to, it's interesting that they're like, yeah, they're giving us Tyreek stuff, but then not giving us anything. Kupp getting 5 yards versus Puka. I kind of like this one here. Kyren. We could slide Kyren down to 79.5. That gets us to 1.15. I don't know. I think it's fine. I'd rather keep that 87.5. I like the slight Tua slide, the Jonnu fantasy points. I'm going to lock this in. We can build one more. So this one is Kyren lower 87.5 rushing yards, Tua a little slide to higher than 259.5 passing yards, Jonnu higher than 7.25 fantasy points. Puka has a 1.5 yards rushing line for some reason. Let's get the Achane rival back in here. I mean, this is my favorite one. I want to run this again. Let's run it with something not using Jonnu in case that goes poorly. So we're still live elsewhere. What's something else we like on? Someone mentioned the Kupp versus Puka. I kind of like this. Just, looking at some of that matchup alignment stuff. It did seem like it's a better matchup for Kupp than Puka. I kind of like that. And then let's find one other thing to play in here. So we got Achane rivals, 27 more rushing yards. We're getting spotted. We have Kupp +5. Or should we just lean into the Jonnu call? I guess the one Jonnu thing we haven't done yet is yards. they pull it? I don't see the yards up here now. Let's figure out one more here to toss in here, and then we will call it. Anything else you guys like? Let me check the Underdog Pick 'em tool at Fantasy Life. Malik Washington, longest play. See, I do always like the kicker angle. So this likes. There is the Puka higher rushing yards, although we've already used Puka in this receiving yards one. I do like that shout though. What are the kicker Sanders points here? Dolphins kicker has good splits here. Do we think the Dolphins are scoring 3 touchdowns tonight? Three extra points, and we're getting a little. What's the line, or what's the implied team total tonight for the they are implied to score 23 points. About 3 touchdowns and a field goal. What do we like, kicking points or extra points? He's been about 3 extra points, 2 field goals. Yeah, it looks like either field goals or extra points. He's been at 9, 9, and 4. I guess we wouldn't do field goals because we're getting a dock there at 0.92. So yeah, what do we like better? Extra points, 3 touchdowns, or kicking points having the field goal out? Both 1.07. Probably having the field goal out, right? Let's just take the kicking points there, 7.5. All right, I like this one. Jason Sanders, higher than 7.5 kicking points. Achane over Kyren in the rivals for rushing yards, and then Kupp over Puka in the rivals for receiving yards. I feel like this is a nice little basket of pick'ems for tonight. I will drop these in the Discord as well to make it easy for you guys. And let's see. Do we want to do one quick draft here? We have time to do one look ahead draft for next week. If you guys want to hop in a first look here with me, and then you guys can go watch Davis. It's always fun to like pull up this slate. Yes, 2 more people hop in this playbook with me. This is what helps set the ADP for the Battle Royale the following week. Oh, BR is open? All right, I'll leave this. We'll do sorry if I rugged you on that. Let's do I didn't see BR being up earlier. There it is. Week 11. Do we still got 40K up top? Nice. All right. My very first Battle Royale draft of the week. Need one more here. All right, we got the 1-3, friends and family, B-Spurf, Mathology, Biff. Can take a look at the ADPs here. Jackson, Allen, first round picks, Purdy, Mahomes, Goff, Love, Darnold, Tua, Stafford. Gino way down here. Rodgers way down here. Running back, CMC, Henry, Achane, Bijan, Kyren. Man, Gibbs kind of jumps out to me. Man, every time Gibbs touches the ball, he looked so electric last night. Jacobs looks too cheap here at 33.4. So's Aaron Jones if he's fine. Did we get an update on Aaron Jones? All right, we're on the clock. Let's take Big Dog. You know what? Screw it. Let's take Achane. Achane's going to go off tonight. Then he's going to be pacing Las Vegas at home. It's an Achane kind of day. Let's see what tight end looks like. Kittle, Kelsey, Bowers, Njoku, Andrews, Hawk, Ingram, Laporta, Kraft, Pitts, Jonnu, Henry, Kincaid. Strong, strong tight end slate. See, this is where we want to be back in on Taysom Hill, guys. Now no one's drafting Taysom Hill. This is when we get back in on him. At home versus Cleveland. If not using the caddy, where are we landing at ADP versus ownership? Yeah, generally after ADP of 35, those guys are going to be like less than 10%. Yeah, Jones did come back in. I was just wondering if there were any updates on stuff. We are back on the clock here. Wide receiver. Should we just play the teammate correlation? Man, some of that stuff with Tyreek, like he could just end up getting cheaper. All right, Lamar at pick 10. Sure, why not? I guess people are worried because they just held Jaden Daniels to like 7 fantasy points or whatever. Man, I love these the prices on these tight ends look good. Man, Breece getting cheaper too, huh? Let's grab Kittle. Kittle versus Seattle feels like a fun time. Here, I'll drop the, if you missed it before, there's the 3 pick 'em links. Also, Mark and Schmo and Steven, I still haven't gotten an email from you guys unless I missed it. Please contact me so we can figure out how we're going to do this contest. I need a way. I know Mark's in the Discord, so I can wrangle up Mark. If you guys are in the Discord, that works. You can send me a DM on Discord too. I just need to find a place where we can all talk this out. All right, so we're going to need 2 wide receivers here. I don't mind stacking up Lamar with Zay. Where's Zay's price at? Oh, he's already gone. Someone already took Zay. This feels too cheap for Breece. I mean, I know he hasn't been getting it done of late, but it's too cheap for his caliber of talent. We're going to take Breece at pick 22. And then we need 2 wide receivers to land this plane. Probably do a Jets wide receiver. Man, my guy Jaden Reed. I'm always a sucker for Jaden Reed back here. I know, that's the thing. You got to really have to turn off your brain real quickly of being like, I hate the Jets. I want nothing to do with the Jets. And then it's like, at home versus the Colts, it is a good bounce back spot. DK Metcalf's probably a pretty good Q tag play. Reminder, immediately following this, I'm guessing he's already live, but you guys can refresh this screen or head over and watch Davis over on his channel. I believe Kyren might be jumping on with him. Not sure about that. All right, yeah, let's do the Garrett Wilson. I kind of like the little mini. We'll do Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson together, and then I'm going to take Jaden Reed and push the plane. That's what we're going to do. Jaden Reed and push the plane. And if not, we'll take the DK Metcalf Q tag. Yeah. All right. GG's, everyone. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us today here on the Portfolio Review. Make sure you guys are subscribed to both this channel and the Deposit Kingdom channel. Have a great rest of your Monday. I will be back tomorrow for the Swolecast at noon. And then we'll have your regular programming the rest of the week. Let's ship those pick'ems tonight and head over and support Davis on his channel. Peace.